So, okay. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Good night to everyone who is watching these videos. So, uh, my name is Justin Rahman and my partner is Ms. Pines. So, we want to talk about responsibility and challenges of OSH in workplace. So, uh, my lecturer is Sir Josephine. I'm sorry. Okay, let's proceed to the first slide. So, introduction. OSH responsibility in workplace. So, who is OSH? Okay, OSH is occupational safety and health. Who is responsible to worker at the workplace? So, the first point is the safety of an employee or workplace, commonly referred to as occupational safety and health ataupun OSH. So, it is regulation concerned with safety, health, and welfare of worker at workplace. So, the third one is protect co-workers, family members, employer, customers, and many others who might be affected by the workplace environment. So, tugas OSH ini adalah mereka bertanggungjawab menjaga kebajikan pekerja, keselamatan, kesihatan, bukan saja pekerja tapi diorang punya family members, the customer, pelanggan, and many others lah yang mungkin affected by workplace environment hazard. So, this is legal framework in Malaysia. So, this is evolution. So, the history lah. Kalau yang paling lama adalah the first one, boiler safety in 1914. So, boiler safety ni mereka fokuskan kepada boiler. Mungkin dulu banyakkan di Malaysia adalah industri boiler, mungkinlah, saya pun tak pasti. So, the second one is Federal Machinery Enactment in 1914 until 1952. So, the Federal Machinery Enactment, so mereka berkaitan dengan machinery, masih lagi berkaitan dengan machinery. So, yang the third one is sama juga, machinery, tapi mereka adalah ordinance. Machinery Ordinance in 1953 until 1967. So, apa yang perbezaan antara kedua, yang second one and the third one is enactment and ordinance. So, enactment kemungkinan occupational safety and health bahagian Semenanjung menggubal satu ordinance berkaitan dengan federal machinery. So, seperti yang kita tahu, kalau enactment ni memang kat Semenanjung biasanya, akta yang digubal dekat Semenanjung. So, kalau ordinance dia digubal di Sarawak dan Sabah. So, yang keempat adalah Factory Machinery Act. So, akta Factory Machinery. So, kalau kita lihat antara 1, 2 dan 3, mereka hanya fokuskan kepada contoh yang satu adalah boiler safety, mereka fokuskan kepada boiler. So, 2 dan 3 mereka fokuskan kepada machinery. So, yang keempat kita boleh tengok mereka semakin meningkat, mereka improve diorang punya akta. So, mereka tingkatkan tambah kepada factory. So, kalau kita tengok 2 dan 3 tadi, mereka hanya fokuskan kepada machinery. So, yang keempat kita tengok mereka tambahkan factory sekali. So, the last one is OSHA 1994. So, OSHA mereka, kalau kita tengok daripada 5 ke 55 act ni, akta ni. So, OSHA melingkungi hampir semualah berkaitan dengan welfare, safety, bukan sahaja safety, mereka welfare, environment, apa semua, machinery memang lengkap lah dalam OSHA. So, ini adalah yang satu macam package yang lengkap, akta berkaitan dengan keselamatan dan kesihatan pekerja di tempat kerja. So, legal framework in Malaysia. So, objective of OSHA. So saya tak sentuh bahagian yang lain tadi, kerana kalau anda sendiri tahu adalah OSHA adalah skop yang merupakan akta yang paling banyak sekali, yang paling yang paling baik lah, daripada kelima-lima yang tadi. So objektif OSHA kita sentuh bahagian OSHA. So the first one is to secure safety, health and welfare person at work. Menjaga kebajikan lah pekerja-pekerja di tempat kerja at the workplace. So the second one, protect person at the workplace other person. Bukan setakat pekerja di tempat kerja itu saja, tetapi orang luar. Contohnya yang saya bagi tahu tadi, customer, pelanggan ataupun family member, family daripada worker tadi. So the third one is to promote an occupational environment for person at work. Menerapkan ciri-ciri environment, keselamatan dari segi environment kepada pekerja di tempat kerja. So the last one is to provide regulation, industry code to improve standard safety and health. Begitulah mereka providekan mereka punya regulation and improve the standard of safety, keselamatan dan kesihatan kepada worker at the workplace. So this is responsibility of employer. Yalah, employer seharusnya memang bertanggungjawab untuk menjaga kebajikan pekerja. So under OSHA 1994, employers are responsibility, mereka bertanggungjawab to provide a workplace free from serious hazard, memastikan tempat kerja itu selamat kepada pekerja, to mengelakkan any accident ataupun unnecessary accident at the workplace. So the second one is adequate emergency service. So ini berkaitan dengan emergency service lah. Apa-apa emergency, contohnya kebakaran, bencana alam at the workplace. So the third one is safe equipment and machinery. So equipment, apa itu equipment? Apa-apa sahaja seperti contoh yang paling senang lah, PPE, apa yang digunakan oleh pekerja semasa bekerja, contohnya glove, helmet, safety boot, paling penting, yang basic perlu digunakan di tempat kerja. So machinery, contohnya mesin lah yang digunakan. Mesin ni lebih memudahkan pekerja untuk melakukan sesuatu yang berat, contohnya mengangkat barang, mereka perlukan mesin. So mesin ni walaupun dia kuat dan boleh meringankan beban pekerja, tetapi machinery perlu dijaga, perlu orang kata perlu safety jugalah, mengelakkan machinery itu tidak selamat. Mereka perlu cek mesin tu sebelum digunakan, masih boleh digunakan ataupun perlu diservis ataupun perlu diganti. So safe enter and exit from the workplace. So enter and exit, bagi saya enter and exit is related to the emergency exit. So emergency exit ni adalah pintu kecemasan lah, contohnya di tempat kerja tu perlu ada. So ini adalah very important. Kalau ada kecemasan, contohnya kebakaran di tempat kerja, kalau kita nak guna lift, walaupun lift tu senang digunakan, tetapi kalau situasi kebakaran tidak dapat digunakan, memang diharamkan, memang tidak boleh lah digunakan, sangat berbahaya. So untuk mengelakkan mereka menggunakan lift, mereka perlu ada tu lah, dekat workplace, mesti ada emergency exit. So ini kalau ada kecemasan, mereka senang untuk melarikan diri, keluar, takkan mereka nak bunuh diri dalam tu, macam tu lah. So the last one is safe work environment. So sama je lah seperti yang di atas, menjaga persekitaran yang safety. Okay. The other responsibility of employer is to provide The first one is risk management. Risk management ni berkaitan dengan risiko di tempat kerja lah. Appropriate safety equipment. Memastikanlah equipment apa-apa seperti baju, coat ke, apa seluar. Tak ada orang safety, orang kerja dekat kilang tu pakai seluar jean sebagai contohnya lah. Kasut tak ada, kasut kulit tak ada. Orang pakai kasut safety boot. So macam tu lah equipment. So advice and training. So advice and training ni kalau kita tahu seperti contohnya orang yang baru masuk bekerja tu perlu di training. Ataupun ada example is advice, kita memberi nasihat kepada orang, kepada pekerja untuk melakukan pekerjaan tersebut berdasarkan keselamatan, ciri-ciri keselamatan dan kesihatan, mengelakkan kecederaan dia sendirilah. Training ni macam kalau kita first time, orang yang first time menggunakan mesin tu perlu di training terlebih dahulu, mendapatkan latihan daripada orang yang berpengalaman. So another is report all serious accident to authorities. So macam contohnya ada accident, contohnya kebakaran ataupun kilang tu meletup ke, apakah elektrik, apakah ada orang rentung ke, masa-masa rentung dan kebakaran. So mesti membuat report. This is the serious accident. So mereka kalau accident yang biasa-biasa tu tak adalah, mereka nak ambil, orang ambil yang serious accident saja, macam contohnya kematian. Mungkin mereka ambil semua accident, tidak terkecuali yang ringan-ringan tu, mungkin mereka ambil sebagai satu report ataupun checklist bukti kepada authorities. So give a clear instruction. Ini kalau kita tahu instruction, kalau seseorang tu mendapat the bad advice, nasihat yang kalau melakukan kesalahan kan, perlu diimprovekan. Sebagai contoh, kita memberi nasihat kepada seseorang tu, kalau dia melakukan kesalahan, jangan kita makin kecam dia, mungkin nanti akan menyebabkan pekerja itu stres. Jangan terus dimaki hamun. Itulah instruction memberikan arahan yang betul dan clear untuk memudahkan pekerja. Jangan memberikan instruction yang dapat meningkatkan lagi kepala pekerja, kesian mereka. Itu sajalah untuk my presentation. So the next presentation I want to pass to my partner, Mas Pinas. So I'm sorry for kalau ada salah cakap apa semua. So thank you for watching and give the attention. So Assalamualaikum.
Okay, have to type from challenge in the sector. First one is statutory. For example, is the technology. Okay, the technology. Public sector leaders are not ready for technological change mean in the term of engaging with society. Leader cannot keep up with technological trend as a way of interacting with society and engaging employees. This will impact the technological change on how public services are organized, on sale as on how services are delivered to citizen and on how citizen can contribute. Jadi maksudnya di sini ialah pemimpin sektor awam tidak bersedia untuk perubahan teknologi dalam hubungannya dengan masyarakat. Jadi hal ini akan memberi kesan kepada perubahan teknologi seperti peringatan awam dan sebagainya. Okay, second type is non-statutory. Maksudnya tidak berkanun. Statutory maksudnya yang berkanun lah. Dan yang kedua ini adalah non-statutory, maksudnya tidak berkanun. For example, inadequate diversification. and low ratio of profit. Inadequate diversification. The private sector has been suffering from inadequate diversification as the government did not allow them to participate in those basic, heavy and infrastructural sector which were earlier reserved for the public sector. Maksudnya di sini, sektor swasta telah menderita karena kerajaan tidak memberikan kelulusan kepada mereka untuk mengambil bahagian dalam sektor-sektor asas, berat dan infrastruktur yang sebelum ini dikaskan untuk sektor awam. Okay, next, for low ratio of profit, another important problem of the private sector enterprise is the declining trend in its net profit ratio due to lack of response from citizens and government. Non-statutory organizations are having problem with reserve profit and benefit. Oke, jadi maksudnya di sini sektor swasta mereka mengalami kekurangan respon daripada masyarakat dan kerajaan. Itu juga organisasi yang bukan berkanun dan mengalami masalah dengan keuntungan dan manfaat yang layak. Okay, second last slide. This is our conclusion for this topic. In conclusion, the point of this report is to point out hazard, challenges in the sector and the management system. This report is meant to expose hazard, challenges and how they manage the problem in the system. The economic sector are short in abiding optional safety and health regulation. By the help of analyzing the overall management system and hazard, the public and statutory service can eventually manage the cause of economic downfall and allow help one organization to be more organized in both safety and health terms. Based on the organizations above, challenges that the organization are facing can clearly influence the people of the future. Okay, last slide is our reference. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Hello, welcome to the Occupational Safety and Health Practice 2020 Semester 6 presentation. Greetings to our lecturer, Sir Josfirin, our lecturer for this subject, OSH 3812. Our title today will be the safety issues and practice in the sector. Let's have a look to the content. First, we will be presenting about the introduction to our industrial activities, and the types of hazard and its impact to workers, public and stakeholders. 3 will be the legal compliance, which will be presented by Amos. And 4th is the OSH performance measurement. Next. For the introduction of safety issues and practice in the sector, public safety refers to the welfare and protection of the general public. It is usually expressed as a governmental responsibility. Most states have Department for Public Safety. The primary goal of the department is prevention and protection of the public from dangers affecting safety, such as crime and disasters. So, the introduction to our industrial activities. So, let's define the public service first. Public service is a service intended to serve all members of a community. It is usually provided by government to people living within its jurisdiction, either directly through the public sector or by financing provision of services. The term is associated with a social consensus, usually expressed through democratic election, that certain services should be available at all, regardless of income, physical ability, or mental acuity. Even where public services are neither publicly provided nor publicly financed, for social and political reasons, they are usually subject to regulation going beyond that applying to most people economic sectors. Public policy, when made in the public's interest and motivation, can provide public services. Public service is also a course that can be studied at a college or a university. Example of public services are fire brigade, police, air force, and paramedics. Next. So let's have a look to the statutory services. The definition. There are two types of public services that are statutory and non-statutory services. The difference between a statutory and a non-statutory service is that a statutory service is paid by taxpayers, funded by the government, and is set up by the law. They are usually informed and highly professional. An example would be the emergency service and the armed force. A non-statutory service is a service that doesn't receive a lot of government funding, so that they are paid by members of the public as they are registered as charities. They are set up by individuals and not parliament. Statutory public service are required by the law, and there are legislation in place that government set for them to be in place to keep peace in order within the country and or sometime abroad. The non-statutory public service are not required by the law, but are still needed for public in practical situations, and sometimes even crucial help is provided by these non-statutory services. And for the example statutory services can be schools and education. Council services and other legal aid are required by the law to be in place. Usually they are self-funded organizations, but sometimes they can receive money from government or donation. How these services support the public and citizen? They support the public by giving them assistance in whatever the issue is. We have public services that cover most of the problems that society could confront, from emergency situation to information, utilities, and legal help. Each service should specialize in specific areas, and people that work they are professionals with adequate equipment, so they could be efficient and effective. People that work in the services have needed training and knowledge in the area. They specialize, and when their service work together, they can control the situation effectively. So some example of the statutory service organization is the police service. The police service provides neighborhood watch, enforce traffic, prevent crimes from happening, and maintain order. Second one, the army service. The army service provides help in terms of preventing terrorist attacks, bomb defusing, and also social services. The third one, education. The education service is provide scholarship, schools, college, universities, and training centers. Some example for non-statutory services organization. Non-statutory services can be electricity, gas, water suppliers, public transportation, and other, which are not required by law, and many of them are owned by private businesses and are run for profit. But as long as they provide fair and needed service to public, it is acceptable. Voluntary and non-statutory service and non-statutory service that is funded by government. Non-statutory public service will run out of profit, and voluntary services' main objectives are to fill in gaps that statutory services cannot or are not able to cover. Non-statutory services support statutory services. Some of them are voluntary and are not funded by the government, so they have to cover the expenses by donation from people. So for the next slide, I will pass to Kerry.
Okay, hello Sir Josh, my name is Kerry. Okay, so today's slide is regarding types of hazards and its impact to workers, public, and also the stakeholders. So the first one is the police service. Okay, the impacts, possible hazards that can occur within the police service is normally physical hazard and psychosocial hazard. So physical hazard is an agent that occurs without contact, and psychosocial hazard is a stress agent that involves mentally in accord with physical well-being. In physical hazard, the policeman and also the policewoman have to endure trainings, both physically and mentally. Muscle strains, cramps, heat strokes, and seizures are likely to occur during training. And sitting down, the police as well, they sit down. So especially in the administration section. So sitting down for too long in front of their computer desktop can cause muscle strain and even to leads to carpal tunnel syndrome. So the CTS occur when a person work their wrists and arm at a repetitive movement such as moving the mouse and also handling heavy documents on the table. And the next one is regarding highway agency. So the highway agency is is an agency that works that employees are working near the roadside, like doing road construction and even how do you say that? Drawing no painting the road with lines, those road stuff. Okay, so employees under the highway agency have their own safety hazard as well. Workers are prone to face accidents, especially while clearing out oil spills of tankers, debris from lorry accident due to fast drivers at the highway. And some also have to work late at night. So economic hazard are frequently occurred towards workers in the highway agency. And adequate lighting also can cause their eye to strain and even have musculoskeletal disease. So prolonged repetitive movement while using machine can lead to carpal tunnel syndrome and also heart failure. The last one is Help for Heroes. So Help for Heroes is an agency. It's an agency. It's a charity. It's an NGO agency. So the employees working in the Help for Heroes agency, they face work-related stress and work-related fatigue, which falls into psychosocial hazard category. This organization takes a lot of not only man work effort, but also administration effort as well. If employees are unable to organize themselves with their work schedule, they can face stress, depression, and fatigue. And the physical hazard that can happen is when the participants are not fit to join the activities the organization organize. The activities that they organize is more to extreme sports like hiking, jungle trekking, and lastly, ceremonial parade. So every participant have to endure health checkups before entering this charity. So if they do not do any health checkups or joint problems, muscle cramps, asthma, and even heart attack can occur to the participants. Right, so we are going to the next slide. So this legal compliance slide is, I will pass to Amos.
Hello, my name is Abraham Amos. Today I'm going to talk about legal compliance. So, having a good compliance management system can help your business in many ways, such as attract more customers and make the stakeholders of the company happy, reduce the difficulties of legalities. Other advantages of legal compliance management solutions and the following points will shed more light on the same compliances. Besides that, it improves your reputation. It is good for PR of the company. Using an entire compliance management system can easily market your company as a just and trustworthy name. Audits can help you significantly in this regard, able to generate leads faster. Next, avoid legal issues. Business will be operating within the legal boundaries and regulations. Legal trouble can lead to significant losses. The software will manage things accordingly. Lastly, precise compliance. Help of software solution can work freely and remove the worries present in this regard. The entire process will become faster and efficient with proper system in place.
Okay, this slide is regarding public and statutory services OSH management system based on their organization. So they are divided into two, which are proactive and reactive. What it means by proactive is creating or controlling a situation rather than just responding to it after it has happened. Okay, so this enables management to take preventive control before the occurrence of any unnecessary accident. For instance, the help for heroes, like I said in the previous slide, like doing some health checkups and all, those are preventive and control measures before any accident that can happen, because they just did the health checkups and everything, because this agency has organized a very extreme sport for the charity, which is not good for all ages. And you have the effectiveness of the employee participation process and the use of health screening. So the use of health screening is always it's a normal work process for any agency. Like what Anderson has stated about regarding the education service and the army service, the police service, every service needs to have a health screening before they start work. And reactive is an act in response to a situation rather than just creating or controlling it. So monitoring of ill health is a good thing, because if we do not monitor those workers or even participants during any job or any organization that occur at the same time, if you don't have any monitoring, this will cause a major problem as well. And actions also are required following assessment by regulators as well. What this means is anything that has to do legally have to be tally with all those legal compliance which are presented by Amos. And in conclusion, I will pass to Amos.
Okay, that's all from us.
In conclusion, the point of this report is to point out hazards, challenges in the sector and management system. This report is meant to expose hazard, challenges, and how they manage the problems in the system. The economic sectors are short in abiding occupational safety and health regulations. By the help of analyzing the overall management system and hazards, the public and statutory services can eventually manage the cost of economic downfall and also help one's organization to be more organized in both safety and health terms. Based on the organizations above, challenges that the organization are facing can clearly influence the people of the future.